Okay, welcome to video module part 1. Now in this video module we shall be looking at the various challenges in trying to apply technical analysis to the markets effectively. Okay, now let me just say from the get-go that many beginners actually believe that if they were able to master technical analysis, that they would instantly be profitable in the markets. Okay, but let me just say that this is not necessarily the case, as you shall see in a few minutes. Okay, I will illustrate various scenarios whereby it should be very clear to see that just applying technical analysis alone may not be enough to ensure profitability in the markets. Okay, but as far as forecasting price action or future market action is concerned, that's okay. But in order to extract profit from the market or to generate a profit from the market using technical analysis, it may not be so straightforward as you think. Okay, now I'm going to bring up 3 or 4 different scenarios in the next few video lessons to illustrate what I'm talking about. Now let us press on straight away and look at the first tremendous hurdle in trying to apply technical analysis effectively in the markets. And let me just say before we start that many of you may be quite shocked by what you see. Okay, but don't get too concerned about it, because there are various ways to mitigate the adverse effects of what you're about to see in the next few video lessons. So don't get too concerned, even though it may shock you initially, because things will get better. Now, one more thing I just want to say before we begin is that I don't expect you to fully understand everything that I'm saying, because in these few video lessons, I'm just going to highlight the problems that we face in trying to apply technical analysis effectively in the markets. Okay, but a lot of these concepts and a lot of these terms and definitions will be explained in great detail. So don't worry too much about trying to understand the terms and definitions and that sort of thing. But if you do understand what I'm saying, then that is fantastic. Okay, if not, don't worry too much. I just want you to get the gist, okay, of what I'm trying to say. That's all. Let us press on now with the first hurdle in trying to apply technical analysis in the markets. Now, to illustrate the first problem or the first challenge in trying to apply technical analysis, let us assume that we are traders in a market and we are going to employ a breakout strategy. Okay, and this is quite basic. A lot of traders, they employ a simple breakout strategy in order to trade the markets. So we are going to do the same thing. We are going to adopt a very simple breakout strategy with a stop loss, okay, for both long and short positions, and we shall examine whether this is enough to be profitable in the markets. Okay, so let us press on right now and see what this is all about. Okay, now let me just say that you can read the text on your own. I'm not going to repeat everything that's on the screen because that's pretty pointless. You can do that by yourself by just freezing the frame or freezing the video and read whatever text there is on the screen and then carrying on after that. But I'm just going to explain everything in my own words, so you get the benefit of what's on the screen as well as my own personal input. So let us now look at the illustration on the left hand side of the screen. Now this is a typical breakout entry for a long position. Okay, so here we see prices rising, making a swing high, coming down, making a swing low, and of course later on, as you'll find out, this swing high represents a resistance level in the market, and this particular swing low represents a support level in the markets. Okay, so here we see prices rising and breaking above the previous high, or in other words, breaking above the resistance level. So this is a typical setup for a long entry. Now a long entry simply means buying to open a new position in the market. That's all. Okay, nothing more than that. So to go long means to buy to open a new position in the market. And of course, if you are buying a position in the market, you want prices to go up. Okay, because prices going down will not be a good thing. Okay, it'll be unfavorable, okay, with respect to your position. So here we have a typical breakout setup where you have prices rising above a previous high, and that is a trigger to go long, okay, or to get into the market. Now, on the right hand side of the screen, we have another illustration showing you a setup for a short entry in the market. So here we see prices falling, making a swing low, or what I call a support level, rising up and making a swing high, or what we call a resistance level, and subsequently falling all the way down below the previous swing low, or falling below or penetrating the support level. And therefore, upon penetrating the support level, that is the trigger to enter into a short position. Now, a short position simply means selling to open a new position. That's all. But I know many of you, especially for stock traders, okay, but not so much for futures or forex traders, shorting may be a difficult concept to grasp. But don't worry too much about that, because I'm going to explain shorting in great detail in the later video lessons. So don't get too concerned about this if you don't really understand what shorting means. But let me just say again that shorting simply means to sell to get into a position in the market. You're selling to get into a position in the market. That's all, nothing more than that. And hopefully you can buy it back at a lower price to get out of the position, and thereby making a profit in the process. Okay, so here we have a typical setup or trade setup to get into a short position, and on the left hand side we have a typical setup to get into a long position. Now notice in both situations we do implement stop losses. So on the left hand side, where we have the long setup, notice that the stop loss in this case, or as far as these examples are concerned, the stop loss is placed at the swing low prior to the breakout, or at the most recent support level prior to the long breakout. Okay, and on the right hand side for the short setup, we see that the stop loss is placed at the swing high, or the prior support level just before the short breakout. Okay, now some people like to call it breakdown, if it's falling below a support level, and breakout if it's rising above a resistance level. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm just going to use breakout for both scenarios. Okay, so a breakout means a penetration of either the prior support level or the prior resistance level. Okay, so let us not get too bogged down with all these definitions for now and let me carry on to illustrate what the challenges are, okay, in trying to apply technical analysis in the markets. And let me just say again, it is pretty shocking once you find out what they are. So let us now move on to the next slide to see what the first issue is all about. Okay, now again, as I said, you can read the text on your own by freezing the video for a while. I'm just going to carry on now and explain everything in my own words. Now, let us assume that you have two traders now in the market, Trader A and Trader B. Okay, now Trader A is going to risk 1% per trade. This means that every time Trader A gets into a position in the market, he or she is going to risk only 1% of his or her initial capital. Okay, so that is what Trader A is going to do. Now, Trader B, on the other hand, will not adopt a position whereby he or she will risk 1% of his or her initial capital, but rather Trader B will just enter with one fixed lot. That's all. Okay, so we call that a fixed lot method of sizing. Okay, whereas for Trader A, it was a fixed percentage method of sizing, whereby Trader A only risks 1% per trade, while on the other hand, Trader B enters a position with a fixed lot. Now again, don't get too worried about all this, because I'm going to explain sizing methodology and the rest of it in very great detail when we come to the respective modules, okay, later on in the course. So just sit back, relax. Don't get too worried about this. Just try to get the feel of what I'm trying to say first, okay? At this stage, that's all you need to do, okay? So let us now look at Trader A with respect to the breakout entry that we explained earlier, and how Trader A actually fares in the market. So let us now look at Trader A's performance in more detail. Here we see prices rising. Okay, in the diagram on the left hand side of your screen, we see prices rising. Okay, making a swing high, coming down, making a support level, and then subsequently breaking or penetrating, or some people even use the word violating, the previous swing high or the resistance level, thereby triggering a long entry. So this is where trader A enters, okay, at this price level here somewhere, with a stop loss placed at the most recent swing low just prior to the long breakout. So here we see the stop loss, and here is the breakout as far as trader A is concerned. Now the size of the stop loss in this case, as you can see here on the screen, is 10 points. Okay, so the distance between the entry and the stop loss is 10 points. Now this could be 10 pips if you're doing Forex, it could be 10 cents or $10 if you're trading stocks, but in this example we are just going to use points, which is normally used in futures trading. So in this example, the stop size or the size of the stop is 10 points. And that represents a 1% loss should price reverse and take out the stop loss. The thing I just want you to keep in mind right now is that as far as trader A is concerned, 10 points represent a 1% loss. Similarly, if price moves favorably with respect to the long position, for every 10 points that price traverses, trader A will similarly make 1%. So what I'm trying to say is that as far as trader A is concerned, every 10 points on the chart represents 1%. So 10 points in the wrong direction represent a 1% loss. And for every 10 points in a favorable direction, trader A makes 1%. Okay, so having explained that now, let us see what happens. So trader A enters a long position over here, prices go up all the way to this point, makes a swing high or another resistance level, comes all the way down, makes another swing low, and then rises back up again, testing the previous resistance level, okay, and then falling all the way back down, and finally penetrating the prior support level here, thereby setting up a short entry in the market. So what trader A is going to do now is he or she is going to exit from the long position that was entered earlier and enter into a short position now. Okay, so right now trader A is in a short position and the long position has already been exited. Was it exited in profit? Well, of course it was, because trader A exited 20 points above the original entry price. Okay, so therefore, since trader A exited 20 points above the original entry level, and since we already know every 10 points represent 1%, trader A makes 2% in the first trade. Now in the second trade, and as you know, trader A is now in a short position, this unfortunately did not work out so well. Prices reversed and took up the second stop loss. Now don't forget, each time trader A enters a trade, he or she only risks 1%. So therefore, when trader A entered the short position over here with a stop loss at the previous or the most recent swing high prior to the short breakout, trader A was again risking only 1%, okay, between the entry point or the short entry and the stop loss. Okay, so therefore when prices reversed and moved unfavorably or moved adversely against the short position and subsequently taking out the stop loss, trader A lost only 1% in this case. So therefore, as you can see, in the second trade, trader A lost 1%. So overall, as far as trader A is concerned, or as far as the performance of trader A is concerned, he or she made 1% after both trades were completed. Now let us now turn our attention to trader B. Now trader B, as you already know, will only enter a position with a fixed lot. So let us now look at what happens to trader B. You see prices rising, making a swing high, prices coming down, making a swing low, and subsequently breaking the swing high, okay, or the resistance level, just as in the case for trader A. Now, at this point, trader B enters one lot. Now, let me just say at this point that for every lot, the profit made by trader B will be the lot size multiplied by the distance moved. So for one lot, moving say 20 points in the right direction, trader B will make 1 multiplied by 20 points, that will be $20, okay? And of course, if prices move unfavorably, okay, for every point moved in the wrong direction, trader B will similarly lose an amount equal to the distance moved multiplied by the lot size, which in this case is just one lot. Okay, so now since you understand that, let us carry on with the example. So over here, we see trader B getting into a long position with one lot. And similarly, following the rules of our breakout entry and exit, at this point, trader B will enter a short position because prices have penetrated a previous low. So trader B gets out of the original long position and gets into a short position, and thereby in the process making $20, because one lot across 20 points equates to $20. Okay, 1 multiplied by 20 points. But in this case, let us just use points, okay? Because since it's only one lot, we shall not bother with dollars and cents and all that. We just refer to the profit and loss in terms of points, okay? All right. So therefore, trader B makes 20 points, or if you like, $20, okay? Now, in the second trade, trader B enters a short position. Unfortunately, since price moved unfavorably with respect to the short position, trader B gets out at the second stop loss 40 points above the original short entry, and thereby losing $40. Or in this case, let's just call it 40 points. So overall, trader B made a loss. Now this is shocking. The reason why it's shocking is because both traders used the same breakout entry approach, and each trader entered and exited at exactly the same price levels. Now straight away, we can see that this is shocking because both traders used the same breakout entry approach, and both traders entered and exited at exactly the same levels. But what we see is a completely different outcome, totally different outcome, diametrically opposed in every sense. This is because trader A made a profit based on the same entry and exits as trader B, whereas trader B made a loss. Now, if trader A made a profit and trader B made a profit that's slightly less than trader A, that is still maybe understandable, okay? It's not too difficult to understand that. But in this scenario, both traders had completely different outcomes. One trader made a profit and another made a loss. Now, this is really shocking news because a technical trader, or a trader that uses technical analysis to trigger entries and exits in the market, he or she at this point will be completely confused, because now it seems that although trader A is successful in this case, trader B had made a loss. Therefore, as we can see, profitability or success in trading is not only concerned with the method of entry or exit, or what we call the trading strategy. Just because one trader is successful using a particular sequence of entries and exits, it doesn't mean that another trader will be equally successful, as you can see in this case. So just using a technical rule for entry or exit doesn't mean you're going to be profitable. You may or may not be profitable. Now, this means that technical traders now have a much greater problem. Not only do they have to predict where the market is going, but they also have to predict which kind of sizing approach that they are going to use. Trader A so happened to have selected the fixed percentage sizing method and made a profit. Trader B, unfortunately, used the fixed lot sizing method and made a loss based on the exact same entry and exits. Isn't this shocking? It is shocking, isn't it? Because now not only do you have to predict the kind of market action that may ensue in the future, but you also have to predict which method of sizing that you're going to use. And this reduces the probability of being a successful trader in the market. Can you see the problem now? It's not just trying to predict price action, but you also have to try to predict which sizing method you're going to use. And if you get one or the other wrong, you will not be successful in your trading campaign. Can you see that? So this is really shocking news. Just in case you did not understand what I was trying to say, you can always take your time, freeze the video, and read the text, and it will explain everything very clearly. Okay, now let us look at one more example just to drive the point home, just to consolidate what we have learned in the first example. And now, Trader A, having made a profit in the first example, is now fully confident to press on and carry on using the fixed percentage sizing approach. And let's see what happens now. So here we have, again, don't forget, again, we are still using the same breakout strategy, the same breakout strategy. We have not changed anything. The only thing different now is the way prices move, So let us start now and see what happens to Trader A. So we see prices rising, making a swing high, coming down, making a swing low, and then again rising, breaking above the previous swing high or resistance level. And at this point, Trader A enters a long position, risking 1% across a stop size of 10 points. We now see prices rising above the entry point, making a swing high, coming back down, and unfortunately, it triggers the stop loss at this point. So Trader A now loses 1%. Now, at this point, Trader A re-enters as a short position because he has broken the previous low. And we see prices falling, making a swing low, rising back up, and finally breaking a previous high or previous resistance level here, which, by the way, is where the stop loss is for Trader A's second trade. Don't forget the breakout rule. For a short position here, the stop loss is at the previous high or the previous resistance level just prior to the short breakout. So we are still using the same breakout approach. Nothing has changed. So in the second trade, Trader A lost another 1%, as we can see here. Now at this point, Trader A enters the third trade, which is now a long position because prices has broke above the previous resistance level. And again, at this point, the stop loss is placed here at the previous support level just prior to the long breakout, according to our breakout rules of entry. So here at this point, Trader A risks 1%. Now don't forget, this 1% amount is based across 20 plus 10 plus 20, that means 50 points. So now in this case, 50 points represent a 1% loss. And similarly, 50 points in the right direction represents a 1% gain. So if 50 points represent a 1% loss, the same 50 points in the right direction or in a favorable direction also represents a 1% gain. So what I'm saying is that for every 50-point move on the chart, it equates to a 1% gain or loss. So in this case, we see for the third trade, Trader A enters a long position here and exits at this point here, which is 50 points above the original long entry position. And therefore, for the third trade, Trader A actually makes 1%, but overall, Trader A still made a loss. But overall, Trader A still lost 1%. Now let's look at what happens to Trader B. So again, we see prices rising, making a swing high, coming down, making a swing low, and rising above the resistance level. So again, at exactly the same price level, trader B now enters one fixed lot with a stop size of, again, 10 points. Okay, now prices rises above the entry level, makes a high, comes all the way down and takes out the stop loss. It triggers the stop loss, thereby causing trader B to lose 10 points, okay, or $10. The amount lost is equal, again, as I said earlier, is equal to the lot size, or the size of the lot multiplied by the distance, okay. So here we have a 10-point move in the wrong direction. Therefore, trader B loses $10 or 10 points in this case. So for the first trade, trader B loses 10 points. Now at this point, trader B now reverses into a short trade, and we see prices subsequently falling, making a swing low, rising above and taking out the stop loss, okay, for the second trade. In this case, trader B now loses 10 plus 20, 30 points or $30, okay. Trader B now re-enters into a long position for the third trade and exits at exactly the same price level as per trader A, which is 50 points above the original long entry. In this case, since trader B is using a fixed lot, trader B now makes 50 points or $50. So for the third trade, trader B makes $50. So we can see that overall, trader B makes 10 points or $10. This is shocking news because now we see that the tables are turned. Trader A is now making a loss, whereby trader B is making a profit. So this is, again, as I said, this is shocking news. So one can never really tell when your particular approach is going to be successful or not, purely based on the use of technical analysis. Can you see the problem? Both traders again are entering and exiting at exactly the same price levels with the same stop sizes. The only difference is the way they size their position. Can you see the problem now? But this creates a massive problem. It requires the trader to do two things in order to be successful. The first is to be able to predict where the market is going, and the second is to be able to predict the most appropriate sizing method to use for the kind of market action that you think will unfold. It's going to be quite a challenge to be successful in a market all the time. Can you see the problem? So just mastering technical analysis alone, without any reference to the other parameters like sizing, risk management, and the rest of it, a technical trader is going to find it pretty hard to be consistently successful in the market. And sometimes when traders lose money, they have completely no idea why they have lost. So therefore, just summarizing, what we have seen so far is pretty shocking, because it clearly shows that just mastering technical analysis alone is not enough. Now, as if this is not bad enough, in the next two video lessons, I'm going to show you two more scenarios where a trader will find it very difficult, okay, very, very difficult to be consistently profitable in the markets. Okay, but don't get too worried at this point, because over the course, we shall be looking at various ways to resolve this kind of issues. Okay, so there is a solution. There is a solution. Okay, all right, so don't worry too much about it. In these first few video lessons, I just want to highlight the problems that faces most traders out there, and a lot of traders don't even realize they have these kind of problems. Okay, so let us press on to the next slide. You can read this on your own, because this is just a repetition of what I've said. Okay, and therefore this brings us to the end of video module part 1. Okay, let us now press on to part 2 for the next hurdle in applying technical analysis in the markets. Okay, see you in part 2. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.
you.